Welcome to the Heart Tech Podcast, a show about innovation, technology, and leadership. This podcast is brought to you by The Heart, empowered by Avenue Media. This is podcast number 2.
I'm Thomas Straube, CEO of The Heart, European Center for Corporate Startup Collaboration.
And I'm Chris Bulski, Managing Director at Avenue Media, a digital marketing agency working with startup and tech industry.
And our guest today is Sebastian Straube from Berlin's Interstellar Ventures to talk about the wild, wide space.
Thanks. Great to be here.
Sebastian, our topic today is space as innovation platform, and that's actually what you do. You work with this industry. Could you tell us a bit more about it?
Sure. So we in Interstellar Ventures believe that we are really in an exciting time where we see the space industry being democratized by really ambitious entrepreneurs like Elon Musk, we will talk today about. And what we are trying to do is really to help these space entrepreneurs to reach their ambitious goals and really to drive the transformation of the sector and really to disrupt this industry in a positive sense, because it's not about only the entrepreneurs, but it's also about the traditional sector, which needs also to evolve, traditional space agencies, for example, or the already established ecosystem in that sense. So this industry needs really to push forward. But it's also great to see that startups are moving the frontier much faster forward, and also new entrants are disrupting the sector. So there's a lot of opportunity, there's a lot of positive dynamism, good energy, and we are trying to support this through different types of initiatives, mechanisms. On one side, a venture vehicle which will invest directly into startups, but also new type of initiatives which we are going to launch as well to push the sector forward, especially in Europe.
Would you say that you work more in the technology of the future or of the now?
Well, so the future is already here, I would say, because as you see, different technologies are advancing. We have artificial intelligence still not in a general sense, but we have still a lot of developments which are leading towards this. And many technologies are basically also driving this disruption. So 3D printing, artificial intelligence, machine learning, this is all part of this new wave of disruption. So it's basically the future now, and building the future now is, I guess, the most exciting thing you can do right now.
Everybody's talking about Elon Musk and his Falcon Heavy rocket. How is he really revolutionizing space exploration? What does he really do differently than NASA and all the other guys with lots of money?
Right. So there are a number of things. I guess the first and foremost, the most important thing is reusability. Because of reusability, you're driving the cost down. So just an example, if you book a plane, you fly with the plane somewhere, and it's not the case that you are really leaving the plane or it's basically trash. But as of now, a couple of years ago, this was kind of the case. A rocket was launching and then it was disposed, so it was not reused. So the innovation which is now being brought by Elon, but also by Jeff Bezos, is really the reusability, which is driving costs down. But also what I say, it's not about the rockets. It's basically a robot, an autonomous robot, which is landing. So take autonomous cars and look at rockets, how they land. This is basically the same I would say, method, because you have a lot of sensors inside these rockets, which are learning how to perform even better the next time. So these rockets are learning as well to land much more better time from time. And this new technology is also driving performance. And many of the parts are also 3D printed. So there are a lot of innovations, technologies which are contributing to this disruption, which Elon is driving, which is basically market-driven innovation. It's not about having large contracts just only from governments, which are kind of the old way of approaching this industry. And Elon is obviously looking for commercial customers. And you mentioned NASA. NASA obviously was also the reason why Elon is there. So there are a number of different also topics why Elon has the support from NASA, but maybe this is another question. Still, I guess it's important to have the space agencies, to have the old industry, which is supporting these kind of initiatives. But as said, Elon is a new type of animal. It's more entrepreneurial, and we have now for the first time ever in history an entrepreneur owning his own rockets and launching crazy things into space.
Could you say, what is it that he does different
Right.
than we've been people?
So it's I think this is the mentality, mindset, and the software approach, the agile, I would say, agile aerospace approach. It's quick iterations and also the scalability, because when you think about NASA rockets, it's large, huge machines which are flying. But Elon has the ambition, to settle Mars, and therefore you need more capable rockets, more powerful rockets. Therefore you need to have a lot of iterations, and the scalability of this rockets, basically mass producing and mass manufacturing rockets, which is driving costs down and advancing technology.
Is it also about 3D printing or different supplier relationship?
Yeah, so many of the parts, as I said, traditionally you had every piece you needed to test and really to make sure that it works, because obviously space is very risky, and if humans are involved in the equation, then it's even more riskier because you are paying with the taxpayer money. So if a rocket blows up, then it's not a good public stand for the government when government is paying. So therefore 3D printing definitely is part of it. There's one company in New Zealand, Rocket Lab, and they have the rocket, I think 70% 3D printed. So all the parts are really advanced manufactured. So it's also part of what is the difference Elon is doing, and how is he disrupting the industry. Technology, mindset, speeds, and really the focus on commercial markets.
So I have a question. At the Heart, we work with so many industries that are right now undergoing disruption, and they think of what could be their business models and revenue streams of the future, or the industries of the future they can be part of. And I guess within Interstellar Ventures, you believe that the space itself is this innovation platform, so a place where all of those new industries of the future will be created in the coming years. Can you tell us more about that?
Sure. So if you think about the future of new industries in space, you can there's a wide range. I mean, there's a spectrum from 0 to 10. So I would say on this scala, if you think about the 10, then it's obviously industrial facilities in space, where we have autonomous robots mining, harvesting resources from asteroids, or maybe even as well on the moon or other planets, and really using these materials and resources for manufacturing things. Basically moving, as Jeff Bezos says, the whole large infrastructure from Earth to space. So this is
probably the old school miners of the past should now all turn into space miners.
Yes, but also in terms of and this is really important, this is not just about people anymore. This is a lot of robotics. This is a lot of about high tech. It's really about artificial intelligence, machine learning, and these type of things, because it's very difficult to even find the right trajectory to fly to asteroid, to land there, to really spot where actually the best place is to harvest these resources, take it out, and then do something with it. I mean, this is a huge technological challenge, and therefore obviously you are not sending humans to do this stuff. But the old, let's say, mining industry has already a certain way of approaching things, but also they have already the solutions, there's technology, there are already people working, and so therefore I would say that these old industries can easily, not easily, but they can pivot into this kind of sector, which requires a lot of innovation, which in the end can also be brought down to earth. Because if you think about automatization, if you have autonomous robots mining and doing things, you can also send these robots to mines here on Earth. So this is really kind of a, I call it like venture in to space and venture out to Earth approach.
Yeah, could you tell us more? Because it seems a little bit distant maybe for some people. It will not be visible on their quarterly results if they think about the future. But this can actually affect the bottom line right now, and some industries here on Earth. If some technologies that were developed for the space actually rebound and come back, returning to Earth.
Yeah.
Can you tell us maybe some examples of technologies that were initially in space or for space? And
I mean the obvious one is satellite navigation. So nobody thinks anymore when you look at your Google Maps, what's actually driving this. And there's a fleet of satellites over us, and it's really pumping this application with information. So I guess this is an obvious one, and everybody's aware about this one. And let's call it the spin out technologies. For example, on the International Space Station, you have, for example, a robotic arm, which was developed by the Canadian Space Agency. And this type of technology, this robotic technology, is being now used in medical surgery, where you have, the robotics parts in space are under heavy bombardment of radiation. So there are now applications in Canada and hospitals where you have an automated robotic arm which can actually go into MRI scans and perform procedures in real time as the whole MRI is moving. So taking the application of this robotic technology in space, where it's a very harsh environment, it's under bombardment radiation, then applying it into these hospitals and staying with the, let's call it the health application area. For example, you can also take the example of the ISS, where you have water purification systems. So basically ISS is kind of a closed loop system where water needs to be recycled, reused, and this type of technologies you can bring back to Earth in, for example, sub-Saharan areas where there's not so easy access to clean water. But with this technology from the ISS, you can purify this water. So these are very concrete examples.
So probably also a way for all the FMCG producers in the world to look at circular economy approaches in space and bring back them to Earth.
Yeah.
I'd like to ask you, sorry, I'd like to ask you how important is the showman part of Elon Musk for the industry, because he is actually making big crowds believe that something like going to space, something like this high-tech revolution is almost here, it's possible, and then that he can make it available to the masses.
Yeah, it's very important to have an evangelist like Elon around because he makes people really think. And if you follow his career, I mean, he's doing a lot of things, not just space, obviously. And in the beginning, people were really laughing at him. Crazy guy coming to Russia, wanting to buy a rocket. What the heck? So, and he didn't get the rocket, so he went back. Was really upset and said, "Hey, let's build a rocket." And then he got in touch with a group of people working on rockets. So obviously had some money left, and he could invest in these teams. So making this unbelievably, unrealistically looking idea reality, we see now. And he even said, this is so unreal when the rockets have been landing back on Earth, 2 rockets in a row, perfect landing. This is so out of a science fiction movie, but it's happening. And I guess this is very important to see that this is really happening, because the industry now, the established industry, is seeing, all right, this guy is serious, we have to do something. And actually, I would even argue that this is a wave of disruption or wave of mindset which he created, which can be leveraged by many entrepreneurs. And this is really the beauty now of the sector because we witness the moments of the democratization of space. And Elon is driving this. Not just Elon, it's also other entrepreneurs, not necessarily billionaires like Jeff Bezos as well. But, smaller teams, really ambitious teams from Europe, from all over the place, who are seeing this potential. And also the entrance barrier is much, much lower. Not just about this disruption which is taking place and which is Elon evangelizing, but also the technology, the access to capital, the access to talents, and the markets, which are now more maturing and are more and more commercial.
If somebody would like to join this race, can you say who already is there? Who are the major players right now who are already exploring this and actively pursuing that
apart
that
from
opportunity?
Musk and
Apart from the
sure.
obvious
So
ones.
we talk obviously about the big shots here, but we should definitely mention it's not just about rockets and going to the moon and space stations and mining resources, which are very inspirational and admirable. And I guess this is where the future goes. But when you look now back to Earth and really the applications which drive economies here, there are a number of different companies who build nanosatellites, microsatellites, small satellites, and provide data. And right now, I guess the most interesting market, or the most interesting area of also investment and innovation, is the whole area of leveraging Earth observation data and applying machine intelligence to it, and providing basically business intelligence for different types of sectors, but also fueling the IoT economy, the mobility economy. There are a number of different applications, and there are a number of smaller startups, teams in Europe. Most famous one obviously is from the States, Planet, interesting company, but also Spire. So we see also in Europe not the big launch companies, but we see as well kind of a niche market which is focused on micro launchers. So, for example, the Falcon Heavy can bring up to the so-called low Earth orbit up to 60 ton of payloads, and these micro launchers from Europe can, for example, bring just 500 or 300 kilogram, but it's specifically designed to bring smaller satellites to the orbit. And we have a number of them in Europe, but also they're popping out in different places. So yeah, there are also other companies.
And are those companies based all in States and Europe, as you said, or
well,
can we also find some market challengers in other?
So now we are entering the discussion about, okay, so what are the obstacles for space entrepreneurs in Europe, and the opportunities Europe, US, and China, even India. And if you want to do this crazy stuff like harvesting or mining asteroids, then there's basically one place to go for Europe for it. This is Luxembourg, and you have always to think about the regulatory environment in which you operate, because you need to have an insurance and as an entrepreneur. In case something blows up, or maybe you destroy anything in space, so you need to be insured. And because Europe is so diverse, we have a number of different member states. We have also a number of different space laws and space policies, and this is kind of a little bit tricky. And right now, a number of countries are responding to the fact that there is a disruption. So, for example, UK is initiating a space bill, which provides more support for entrepreneurs who want to launch their micro launcher ventures. So there is a proper legal environment which is being set up, but also funding, and also the state or UK government is looking into, okay, how can we become a smart state and purchase services from these guys. And the same is now starting in Germany, in France, and other European countries. And I guess the entrepreneur, based on the business idea which he or she has, needs to find the right place to start a company. Still, a good place for starting a space business, I guess, is the States, because you have also access to capital, which is much more risk hungrier than the venture capital in Europe. But we are working on that. So this is part of our mission to drive this innovation and to drive this ecosystem also in Europe.
I guess in every episode we want to ask our interview partners to recommend a book that might be interesting for our people that are interested in the topic. Could you recommend or give us a tip?
Yeah, sure. So there's one book which I really highly recommend. It's called The Space Barons, and it's about Elon Musk and Jeff Bezos. I mean, billionaires, obviously, investing a lot of their own money, but also investing money into what they are doing. But it's literally
competing, I guess. Yeah?
Exactly what I want to say. It's literally describing the competition, which 70 years ago it was the competition between Russia and the US. Now you have two entrepreneurs competing, and this is a totally game changer. It's
not Russia versus US anymore.
It's Elon versus Jeff.
The new Cold War.
Yeah, a hot war. I would argue it's a new hot war.
Okay.
Or no, a hot competition. It's a hot competition. It's not a war. It's a competition.
Great. Thank you very much for inspiring us to look beyond Earth and some new opportunities. Thank you all for listening. And if you want to not to miss an episode, please subscribe to the podcast. And see you next time.
If you'd like to give us some feedback, you can also write to us, comment, or use the hashtag TheHardTechPodcasts. we're looking forward to also your engagement. Thank you. And
thank you very much for having me.
Sebastian.
Thank you.
It was really fun. Thanks.